Hey everybody, so this is Ben Kibbe. I have not updated anything in a while, but I just want to show you some of my latest progress on things. This is my stairs, and I'm very happy with how these turned out. Actually, one of the things, just sort of kind of an interesting note, because I've been playing around with, I wanted some way to apply the linseed oil indoors, rather than having to have stuff sitting outside in the weather while things are drying and all that. So just to give you a little contrast, what I came up with, so both this part right here and the bottommost step right there, I did those with the boiled linseed oil, which has the drying agents in it, which are a little bit too noxious to like have in a space this small. I think even a normal house would be a little bit of an if-y kind of thing. Anyways, so what I came up with, based off of what one of you said on the Incredible Fans of Tiny Homes about your mother that would do. I can't think of your name right off. I'm so sorry. But the mother who would use turpentine mixed with raw linseed oil on furniture. Now, if you ever worked with raw linseed oil, it can take like a month to finish really drying and curing. And so I did a little looking around, and I couldn't find any reference of anybody else doing this. So there might be something horrible that I'm doing to the wood that I don't even realize. I didn't also find anything where somebody said don't do this. So I decided to try, because I didn't want to mess around with turpentine. Is a little bit just looking at the chemical properties of things, and then also going back to kind of military experience of I don't know if anybody's ever done spit polishing with boots, but you would use rubbing alcohol. To help sort of thin out the wax and get a nice thin layer on there. You can get super shiny. Anyway, so I thought of trying that with the raw linseed oil, and it has worked fantastically. I just have this little container here, and I've literally mixed about half and half alcohol and raw linseed oil. Obviously, it's a little more expensive going with turpentine. I actually went with denatured alcohol, which I know has like acetone stuff in it. But it dries really quickly, and there's not there's no lingering smell or anything. This stuff seems to dry a lot faster than the boiled linseed oil, and that is what I have done entirely with these sets of steps here. And at this point, you really can't notice any difference in coloration. Obviously, a lot more layers with that, but basically, I'm just taking a small handkerchief and just rubbing it on, much like if I was polishing boots or something. And it's been really handy. Once I figured out that was working fine on that, there's been a few places I wanted to do additional layering on inside or whatnot, or just sort of freshen up as things dry out or get damaged, and it's been working really great. So anyways, but these are my steps, which turn on an upstairs light here. Things are obviously just a little messy as I go up, but cats and all that good stuff. And this still is an ongoing process. But just so, the way I do is sort of like, what I think of as a duck walk isn't the right word, but that kind of where your foot's out a little bit instead of straight forward is how I usually take these going up. And I can get up them perfectly fine, hands-free, very nicely, I think. The cats, although they have not been perfectly happy with me throughout this entire process, have adapted to them and seem to be doing fine on them and like to sit on them and so forth, which usually they get out of my way as I'm going up and down. So same thing with going down. It's just your foot isn't going straight out, it's going to the side a little bit, and that's part why I made these as wide as I did. Advantageously as well, I have this, this whole thing, this whole opening here is really not that big. So it's like having kind of, a railing all around me, and I can just have my hand there as I'm going down. The other thing, say if I wanted to go down hands-free and I was carrying something fairly large, is I figured out that I can basically put one foot there and then just lean back into the wall, right? And you just go down sideways. And obviously, if you were carrying something heavy and large, you're not going to be moving that fast anyways. But it gives you a little extra stability or whatnot without having to use your hands to steady yourself. I like it. It works really good for me. I think most people, it did take me a few times up and down to really kind of get used to it. It feels like a treadle kind of motion. And like I said, so like the distance between here and here is 6.5 inches. The distance between here and here is, of course, 13 inches. And it's that way all the way up. So what that does is that you have a regular distance. It's less than a normal step by by a good bit. Um, it's about, if you've ever walked up and down those kinds of steps that you feel like, oh my god, could these steps be any smaller? And it makes it a little difficult to go up those. A lot of times. I don't know. I think of like I've run into like courthouse steps and stuff like that, where it feels weird walking up them because the steps are so small. It's a little bit more like that kind of a height than your normal house steps. Um, on each step. And of course, I mean, if you wanted to, you could honestly just walk up these straight up like that if you really wanted to. It's a little bit more like climbing a ladder that way as far as the feel. Which, I mean, that's sort of a normal ladder distance. Also, I mean, like this step up here, because it's open like that behind, makes a nice hand grip as you're going up if you want. There's a lot of different aspects to this that were both intentional and unintentional. Show you sort of what that looks like from the side. I think it matches in well with the overall aesthetic. I'm probably going to end up actually redoing this part because of some stuff. So I have my washer dryer here now, which is another thing I want to talk about. But no matter what, there's going to be some amount of space back here just because of the hoses and stuff. And I think it's something I considered originally, and I think I'm going to go back to. I'm going to take this, and I'm probably actually just going to completely rebuild it because I want a piece on this side over here like I have on this side, so I want it to be integrated in. And I'll save as much of this as I can, but the end result then being that you have this with that sitting over here a little bit. Of course, then I won't be able to lean against the wall, but again, the overall opening size won't be that much different, and I still have on either side of me that to steady myself. So it will come actually so that this will probably line up almost more on with that side. And I still want to do probably actually coming down from here. On this side, it's going to be more like a ladder step up into the loft. Over here, I'm probably going to put a step that will look very similar to like the first step down here. Just to make it a little easier getting in and out of bed in the morning. Although, as it is, it's perfectly fine. It's just a little bit of a stretch to sit back. So it'd be nice to have just a little, spot to kind of put my foot on and push myself up onto the bed. What I was getting at, though, is once I move this over, then I will put some kind of a bar in this space up here. That will allow me to like hang, because I have my 2 or 3 coats right now that are in hanging with my shirts and everything else, that I could then have hanging out here in that space. And I think then with the hoses going under it, that works perfectly fine. Originally I thought of that space as a place to put like my mops and brooms and stuff, but of course that has become this space over here, which again seems to work really well, and that's a good place to have them. I want to talk about the washer. So this is an LG WM3997 HWA. If you Google that LG WM3997 HWA, you will come across this model. I got it as a scratch and dent. There is a scratch. I have no idea. I haven't found the dent yet. And so I kind of jumped on it because it was a heck of a deal compared to the normal price. These do retail for a lot more than the other units. It's 27 inches wide, 29 inches, 29 point something, so basically like 30 inches deep, and about 37 point whatever, so 38 inches tall. And so it's about the size of actually a normal LG washing machine. If you look at a normal LG front load washing machine, they look a lot like this. Having taken this apart, which is a whole nother thing now, I could say that the instructions even for doing that is very similar to the LG washing machines. It's a really good machine. I did have to take it apart because, first few loads, I was not cleaning out the filter, the drain filter, as well as I should have been, or well, as frequently as I should have been. And then some of the hair got into the pump. But the pump is actually a really well-built, simple pump, and all I had to do was, once I got it apart, just pull the hair out. I mean, it wasn't like it was wound around or anything. And so that it stopped obstructing the water flow, and now it's been functioning great. Everything that I've put in here comes out nice and dry. I literally just did a load, and I mean, these are the sheets and everything that were in there. And they came out as dry as any dryer, though it's strange. It's a softer kind of dry. I like it better. part of that, as I thought about it, might be that the water, see the cat going up his, yeah, hey buddy. It, so, oh, what I was going to say, so my water comes out the tap at about 34 degrees here, evidently even in the summer. So I think that possibly having that colder tap water, because it turns out the way a condensing washer works, a condensing dryer works, is it uses the cold from the cold tap water to cool down the steam and condense it out and then get rid of it. So I think possibly having that cooler water coming in as the tap water might actually make the condensing process a little more efficient. I'm not sure. I think these are probably good units in general. I would definitely say, from my experience so far, it's totally worth it. It is a great machine. Yeah, it does take maybe 5 hours to get your laundry done, but you load it up in the morning, go to work, come back, laundry's done, or whatever. Stand here and watch it for 5 hours. I've actually done loads in about 3 hours, I think. It's just a lot of this stuff. It's being washed, frankly, because of cats and all that delightful kind of thing. So I end up doing the extra pre-wash or whatever. I have had this is a queen-sized comforter that I need to put away and everything. But that I ran that through with like a jacket and a pair of pants and a couple other things. So I mean, your load size, frankly, it handles a bigger load size than what I used to be able to get in the stackable washer and dryer that I had in my old apartment. And it's really not that much larger than the 2.5 cubic foot ones or whatever, or the 2 cubic foot ones. It's just slightly larger and yet can wash a lot more, and clearly this is a really good brand. Another thing that I think, unfortunately, the cat just made a little extra stinky a second ago, that has been really good with having 3 cats. I went ahead and splurged on getting one of these Cat Genie ones. Works really well. Again, like the washer dryer, I think it is key to make sure that you follow the instructions. I mean, so for instance, with the washer dryer, I did have a little issue early on the first time I tried it, because I got it pretty level, and it was shaking. The whole house was vibrating. And so I was like, okay, wait a second. And I shut it off, and I sat here with my carpenter's level, and I went back and forth and all around, and I spent a good long time getting it really, really level. And once I did that, that problem pretty much went away. It still does vibrate a little bit, and I have some anti-vibration pads that are coming, and those are supposed to help. But it's, it is what it is. So that is mostly sort of the informational stuff. I have a bunch more shelves I need to put in, and all kinds of stuff still planned, and I got stuff still sitting here that needs to have shelves and be put away and all that. Well, one of the things I wanted to touch on in this video, and this is not tiny home specific, this is just general life stuff, I guess, because I was thinking about this the other night, and I was thinking about some things I've seen people I know and all different kind of stuff that have come up recently. And well, here, let's flip the video there. So what I wanted to talk about beyond that, let me see, this place is still kind of a mess, but it's getting there. So I mentioned having to clean the pump out on this thing. Well, first I had to have it apart completely in order to try and check the entire hose, see if there was a clog in that. And there weren't really good YouTube video instructions, and that's why I'm actually going to be trying to put out one it's a little more specific to this, with some things I had to figure out for myself. But on this specific model, there are some things about LG washers and LG all-in-ones that sort of help you get there, but not the full information. And when I was looking at all the potential aspects, and this, so if you take apart something like this, it is a little bit more involved even than a normal washing machine. I've done a normal washing machine before, and it certainly wasn't easy, and it was kind of a pain in the butt, but it did not involve, you're sliding off this top portion, and I'm unscrewing things for that, and then you're unscrewing things behind this panel. It's a lot more like getting in behind the dashboard of a car and doing repairs there. It's that kind of delightful complexity. And I've now had this thing apart 3 maybe 4 times total figuring this out. And there's a metal piece, it's running right now, that holds the rubber in place on the front. I spent close to 4 hours just getting that thing back on the first time, because it turned out it wasn't as easy as whatever was happening in all the other instructional videos. And once I finally figured it out, it got simple, but certainly wasn't until then. And so the other night, I mean, I had to be someplace at like 9 o'clock in the morning on Friday, and this was Thursday night, and I had that apart, and my steps are moved out from there, and they're up over by the door, and this part is completely removed from the wall, and it's sitting over by the sink, and it's so the whole place is a mess, and I have the washer spread out all over the bits and parts, and trying to keep things straight. I'm going through this and thinking like, oh crap, what if the washer that I just bought, what if this is, I mean, there's stuff under warranty, but I've got to deal with the warranty things, and I don't know if it's something related to the cat hair, does that void this warranty? And I'm worrying about stuff, and I'm going through all this, and about then I go into the bathroom, and the cat genie is spewing out a fountain of poop water, which some hit me in the face, and one little bit landed in my mouth, and it was and it was just one of those moments. And when I talk about now, the fact that this all bugged me so much seems really silly, and stupid, because I was, tempted into a moment of, for lack of a better word, despair. And I was thinking about that because, most things that people would have to have despair over are a lot more serious than that. And they can be things like feeling trapped in a place in your life, or feeling powerless, or any number of other things. But the easy thing in that kind of a moment to do is to basically then start counting your curses, I guess. Just like people count their blessings, you can count your curses, and you do that, and you start collecting up. It's like, and then this and this and this and this other thing from 3 months ago, and this and then I couldn't find my car keys, and it's I think everybody does it to differing levels, but I wanted to talk about that a little bit, because it's something that's been bugging me more as I see it around me, as I learn to reject it in myself, because it's the quickest way to make yourself useless. It's the quickest way to get nowhere. And I could have thrown on top of that for myself all, on top of that, well, it's starting to get wintry and so forth, and I'm having condensation on the windows because my air exchanger, I still have to get with them. Well, they're working on it right now, figuring out. I think everything was installed correctly and everything, but I think I might have just gotten that one unit out of 1,000 or 1,000,000 or whatever that has something faulty in it, and it just won't turn on. And it's actually a fairly complicated thing with computerized parts and pieces, and I don't know how to fix it. I have like the full manual with instructions and takedown and stuff, and I'm like, so it's so easy. It's so easy to do that, and it's so easy to take on the FML kid thing that people come up with, and I don't know, it's just been on my heart a lot recently. My washer is working fine. The thing with the cat genie, well, the one cat kind of likes to play with my washcloths in the bathroom, and at least that's the best I can figure. Somehow a washcloth had gotten down into that little area there that all the poop gets scooped into, and things get drug out or get ground up and shuffled off to the toilet. So there was a washcloth down in there, which was, of course, causing stuff to be flung out and land all kinds of wonderful places. And I pulled that out of there and thought about just, burning the washcloth, but ended up just bleaching it. And that's working fine. And it's perfectly good. There's not, all the stuff that last night was really stressing me out. First of all, it's fixable, and most things in life are. But if I had just allowed it to kind of take over my thoughts and my, everything, it would have been very unfixable. I could have just sat here with the, dryer washer thing half assembled and calling up people and being angry and uncertain, and I could have done the same thing with the Cat Genie thing. And life, you just gotta dig in and go. You just gotta dig in and go. And everything else is a waste of your time, because you live in a truly amazing world, and it is, incredibly amazing, full of all kinds of incredible things for you to see and witness and experience and be a part of. And you have not simply a finite amount of time to experience everything that you can in your life, wherever it is, whether it's in Montana or someplace horrible like New Jersey, where nobody should ever live. It doesn't matter. There are wonderful things in New Jersey. As much as I like to pick on New Jersey, there are wonderful things in Delaware, probably somewhere. But no, life is amazing wherever you are, and if you don't see it, then you aren't looking for it. And that's a very important thing that I unfortunately did not learn a lot sooner. I wish I had. There was so much in my life that would have been so much better if I had figured out that life is incredible wherever you are, and if you don't see it, it's your own damn fault. I will be frank. That is just... But it's not just that you have a finite amount of time to enjoy that. It's that you have entirely too little time to enjoy that. It's that there is not enough time in a human life. There is not enough time in 5 human lives to even begin to scratch the surface of all the things that you could delight in this life. And so the idea of wasting any portion of that on unhappiness and despair and all that stuff, it's just, don't do it, please. And so that's my little diatribe that I am adding on to this, and hopefully it's useful to someone somewhere. And if it isn't, I'm sorry that you wasted your time. So, all right, I'll talk to y'all later.